Hey girls, today we're talking about something that I think so many of us experience but don't always put into words, the empty summer feeling. Or, as I like to call it, empty summer equals depression. Now, that might sound dramatic at first, but hear me out. I want to explain 5 points that I think every girl in her late teens or 20s can relate to. Most of us have just finished our studies. Maybe high school, maybe university, maybe vocational training or another educational program. And honestly, the school year isn't just about learning, it's about pressure, constant pressure. Not the pressure of wanting to understand something new, but the pressure created by the educational system itself. Exams. Every exam becomes a challenge we have to survive. And the moment we finish one evaluation, another one starts. Another deadline, another assignment, another test. At some point, studying stops feeling like learning and starts feeling like proving yourself through numbers. A grade, a GPA, an average score. Something that becomes part of your resume and somehow seems to determine your future. We're constantly told that our opportunities depend on these numbers. Even getting into the university degree we want often depends on reaching a certain grade. So the pressure keeps growing, not because knowledge is becoming more interesting, but because competition is becoming more intense. The truth is that many of us spend the entire winter under enormous stress. We get so used to it that we stop noticing it. We're studying late at night. We're worried about deadlines. We're thinking about our future every single day. For many girls, it becomes emotionally exhausting, sometimes even traumatic. And during this period, we're often isolated. We're spending hours in our bedrooms, libraries, study rooms, or in front of our laptops. We don't have much time to socialize. And thank goodness for social media, because for many of us, it's one of the few ways we stay connected to friends during those intense months. So we spend winter living in survival mode. And all the way through that stressful period, we're holding on to one thought. Summer is coming. Let's be honest. What helps us get through final exams? What helps us survive those stressful weeks? The idea that eventually we'll be free? We tell ourselves, just a few more weeks, just one more exam, just make it to summer. Summer becomes the light at the end of the tunnel. The reward? The promise that after all this effort, we'll finally be able to rest. We'll sleep more. We'll go out more. We'll travel. We'll spend time with friends. We'll finally feel happy again. And that's the dream that keeps us going. But here's the problem. Sometimes summer finally arrives and instead of feeling amazing, we feel lost. Suddenly there are no deadlines, no exams, no schedules, no urgent goals. And after months of living under pressure, our brains don't know what to do with all that freedom. We expected happiness. Instead, we feel empty. We wake up late, scroll endlessly, wait for plans, compare our lives to everyone else's online, and that empty feeling starts growing. Not because summer is bad, but because the structure that occupied our minds all year has suddenly disappeared. I don't think the solution is filling every minute of summer with activities. The solution is understanding what's happening. If you're feeling sad, unmotivated, or emotionally flat after finishing your studies, it doesn't mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean you're failing. It might simply mean that your mind is recovering from months of stress. Summer shouldn't just be an escape from winter. It should be a season where we reconnect with ourselves. Maybe that means seeing friends. Maybe it means starting a hobby. Maybe it means working on a personal project. Or maybe it simply means allowing yourself to rest without feeling guilty. Girls, if you've been feeling this strange emptiness after finishing your studies, you're not alone. A lot of us spend the entire year dreaming about summer, only to realize that freedom can feel confusing when we're not prepared for it. So instead of asking, why am I not happy? Maybe ask, what do I actually want this summer to mean for me? Because summer isn't just a break from studying, it's an opportunity to rediscover who you are when the pressure finally disappears.
The day after the last exam, why do we feel empty?
The moment when we finally close our books, submit our final paper, walk out of the exam hall, and tell ourselves, that's it. I'm free. Maybe you've passed everything. Maybe you still have one subject to retake during the summer, but regardless of the result, you've reached the finish line. The moment you've been waiting for all year. And here's the strange thing. When that day finally arrives, you expect your body to feel relief. You expect happiness. You expect excitement. You expect this huge emotional release after months of pressure, but instead, you feel empty, and that's confusing. Because you've spent months telling yourself that this day would change everything. You imagined yourself feeling lighter, happier, free, and then the next day arrives and you wake up feeling exactly the same. Or sometimes even worse. 2 days pass, still empty. 3 days pass, still no excitement, still no celebration, still no feeling of freedom. And you start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Why am I not happier? Why don't I feel what I thought I would feel? Well, girls, I think there's a reason for this. And it's something we don't always notice while we're living through it. During the academic year, we're living what I call a collective loneliness. Think about it. Yes, we're stressed. Yes, we're overwhelmed. Yes, we're spending hours studying alone. But we're not completely isolated. Every day we go to class. Every day we see people. We sit next to friends. We chat before lectures. We complain about assignments together. We share our worries. We share our goals. We share the same struggle. Even when we're exhausted, we're all moving in the same direction. We're all preparing for the same exams. We're all counting down to the same finish line. And that creates something very important, a sense of belonging. Even if we're studying alone in our bedrooms at night, we know thousands of other students are doing exactly the same thing. We're part of something. We're connected. We're not really alone. And then suddenly, the exams end. Everyone disappears. One friend goes traveling. Another starts a summer job. Someone moves back home. Someone else starts an internship. And overnight, that collective experience vanishes. The structure disappears. The routine disappears. The daily contact disappears. And we're left alone with ourselves. That's why the day after can feel so strange. Because we didn't just lose stress, we also lost a community. We lost a purpose that was guiding our days. We lost the rhythm that had organized our lives for months. And our brain doesn't know how to replace it immediately. It's almost like we've been running a marathon. During the race, we keep thinking, if I can just reach the finish line, everything will be amazing. But when we finally stop running, our body doesn't instantly feel great. It feels tired. It feels confused. It needs time to recover. And I think that's exactly what happens after exams. The emptiness isn't necessarily sadness. The emptiness isn't necessarily depression. Sometimes it's simply the space left behind when a very intense chapter of your life comes to an end. And that's okay. Girls, if you've just finished your studies and you're wondering why you don't feel as happy as you expected, please remember this. You are not weird. You are not ungrateful. You are not doing summer wrong. You're simply adjusting to a completely different reality. For months, your life had a clear mission. Now it's up to you to create a new one. Maybe that's spending more time with friends. Maybe that's traveling. Maybe that's working. Maybe that's learning something you've always wanted to learn. Or maybe it's simply allowing yourself to rest. Real rest. Without guilt. Without deadlines. Without exams. Because after surviving an entire year of pressure, maybe the greatest challenge isn't passing the final exam. Maybe it's learning how to enjoy the freedom that comes after it.
When summer starts, do you feel better, worse, or exactly the same?
We spend months waiting for summer, months dreaming about the end of exams, months telling ourselves that everything will be better once we're finally free. And then summer arrives. The exams are over. The stress is gone. The deadlines disappear. And somehow, instead of feeling happier, we find ourselves facing something completely unexpected. A huge sense of emptiness. And not only emptiness. Sometimes we even feel more anxious than we did during the academic year. Which sounds completely crazy, right? Because if the source of our stress has disappeared, shouldn't we automatically feel better? Well, not necessarily. And I think the reason is much simpler than we realize. During the school year, even when we're stressed, we have structure. We have somewhere to be. We have things to do. We have responsibilities. Every morning we wake up knowing what our day looks like. Classes, assignments, study sessions, group projects, libraries, deadlines. Even if we complain about them, they give our lives a rhythm, a routine, a sense of direction. Then suddenly all of that disappears overnight. And now what? Maybe you have one subject left to prepare for a summer resit. Maybe you don't. But either way, it's not the same. There's no daily routine. There's no reason to get up early. There's no university campus waiting for you. There's no classroom full of people. There's no lecture. There's no schedule. And little by little, without even noticing it, something happens. You become more isolated, much more isolated than you were during the academic year. Think about it. During term time, you were constantly surrounded by people, maybe not your best friends all day long, but people, classmates, teachers, study partners, people you chatted with between classes, people you sat next to, People who were living through the same experiences as you. There was human contact built into your day. Now, you spend more time at home, more time alone, more time on your phone. And yes, girls, social media is amazing. I love social media. It helps us stay connected. It helps us share experiences. It helps us keep in touch with people, but it cannot replace real life connection. It just can't. A video call isn't the same as sitting next to someone. A message isn't the same as a conversation. Watching someone's story isn't the same as sharing a coffee together. As human beings, we need physical connection. We need to be around people. We need eye contact. We need shared experiences. And when all of that suddenly disappears, our emotional state notices, even if we don't realize it immediately. But there's another thing we lose when summer starts. We lose mental occupation. For months, our minds have been completely focused on studying. Every day there was a challenge, a goal, a problem to solve, an exam to prepare for. Something demanding our attention, then suddenly there isn't. And our brain, which has been running at full speed for months, doesn't know how to switch off overnight. It's like pressing the brakes on a car that has been driving on the motorway for hours. The engine doesn't stop instantly. It needs time. And that's why some girls feel worse when summer begins. Not because summer is bad, not because freedom is bad, but because we've lost two things at the same time: our routine and our connection with other people. So we find ourselves in a strange situation. The moment we were desperately waiting for has finally arrived. The exams are over. The pressure is gone. And yet we're sitting at home wondering why we don't feel relieved, why we don't feel excited, why we don't feel the happiness we imagined all year. The answer might be that what we're missing isn't the exams. It's the structure. It's the purpose. It's the community that surrounded us while we were studying. Girls, if summer has started and you're feeling more lost than liberated, don't be surprised. You're not missing the stress. You're not missing the exams. You're missing the routine, the people, and the sense of direction that came with them. And sometimes the first step to enjoying summer isn't finding more free time. It's creating a new rhythm for your life before the emptiness fills the space where your routine used to be.
When does demotivation start?
After the exams are over, after the excitement of finishing has faded away, many of us enter a completely different phase. A phase that I like to call the demotivation zone. And honestly, a lot of us don't even realize we're entering it. At first, everything seems fine. You tell yourself you're finally resting. You tell yourself you deserve a break. You tell yourself you're recovering from months of stress. And that's true. But then little things start happening. You begin going to bed later and later, not because you're doing anything important, not because you're out having amazing summer adventures, but because you're scrolling, watching reels, watching shorts, jumping from one video to another, one more video, one more scroll, one more hour. Before you know it, it's 3 a.m. Then you wake up at midday, or even later. The whole day feels shorter. You haven't really done anything, but somehow you're already tired. And then the next day looks exactly the same. And the day after that, and the day after that. At some point, you start noticing something else. You don't feel excited about much anymore. The things that used to motivate you don't seem as interesting. You keep saying you'll do something tomorrow. You'll start exercising tomorrow. You'll call your friends tomorrow. You'll work on your goals tomorrow. But tomorrow never quite arrives. Instead, you stay in this strange state where you're not doing much, but you're not really resting either. And that's the trap. Because what many of us don't realize is that our bodies and minds have just experienced a huge transition. For months, we were operating at almost full capacity. Every day had a purpose. Every day had a challenge. Every day required effort. We were stressed, yes, but we were also engaged. We were active. We were focused. Our minds were constantly occupied. Then suddenly everything stops. Almost overnight. It's like taking a car that has been driving at high speed for months and slamming on the brakes. You expect the engine to relax, but instead everything feels strange. The silence feels strange. The lack of direction feels strange. The absence of goals feels strange. And your mind starts reacting, not with happiness, but often with discouragement, a sense of emotional flatness, a feeling that nothing is particularly exciting. And that's when motivation begins to disappear. You start eating more. You move less. You spend more time indoors. You compare yourself to people online who seem to be having the perfect summer. And slowly, without realizing it, your mood starts to sink. Now, I want to make an important distinction here, girls. Feeling demotivated doesn't automatically mean you're clinically depressed. Those are not necessarily the same thing, but prolonged isolation, lack of routine, lack of purpose, and lack of social connection can absolutely affect our emotional well-being. And that's why so many girls experience this strange emotional crash after finishing their studies. We think we're escaping stress, but what we're actually experiencing is the shock of going from 120% activity to almost zero. Our minds aren't prepared for that sudden change. Our bodies aren't prepared for it either. And instead of rewarding us with instant happiness, they sometimes respond with fatigue, low energy, and lack of motivation. It's almost like catching a cold, not because you did something wrong, but because your system is adapting to a major change. One day you're full of momentum. The next day, everything feels slower, heavier, more difficult. And this is exactly the moment when we need to pay attention. Because if we don't recognize what's happening, we can stay stuck in that cycle for weeks. Wake up late, scroll endlessly, feel guilty, do nothing, feel worse, repeat. Girls, if you've ever experienced this after finishing exams, you're definitely not alone. Many of us go through it. The good news is that understanding what's happening is the first step. Because once you recognize that this lack of motivation isn't a personal failure, but a reaction to a sudden loss of structure and purpose, you can start rebuilding a new routine. And that's exactly what we need to talk about next. How do we break the cycle and actually enjoy our summer without falling into that emotional slump?
Why you should never leave summer empty.
Seriously, don't leave it empty. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that summer isn't just a break from studying. Summer is an opportunity to recharge yourself before the next chapter begins. Think of it like your phone battery. Your phone needs to be charged regularly if you want it to work properly. Well, your mind and your body are exactly the same. The difference is that phones recharge with electricity. We recharge with experiences. We recharge with excitement. We recharge with purpose. We recharge with connection. And that's why simply doing nothing all summer isn't always the answer. A lot of us think that after months of studying, the perfect solution is to completely disconnect from everything. To stay in bed, to scroll all day, to avoid any responsibility, to spend weeks doing absolutely nothing. But here's the problem. That's not really recharging. That's just switching off. And human beings aren't designed to stay switched off for very long. To recharge ourselves, we need positive experiences. We need things that make us feel alive. Things that make us excited to get out of bed in the morning. That's why one of the most important things you can do this summer is create new routines. The academic routines have disappeared. Your classes are gone. Your lectures are gone. Your study sessions are gone. Now it's time to build new routines that work for this stage of your life. For example, start exercising. And girls, this doesn't have to mean becoming a fitness influencer overnight. It can be something simple, a morning walk, a run, a gym session, a dance class, a swim, anything that gets your body moving, because movement creates energy, and energy creates motivation. Another thing, try not to completely destroy your sleep schedule. I know it's tempting. Trust me, we've all done it. Staying awake until 4 in the morning, watching videos and waking up at lunchtime sounds fun for a few days. But after a while, it starts making everything feel harder. You feel more tired, less motivated, less productive. So try to wake up at a reasonable time, not because you have to, but because your future self will thank you for it. And then there's something even more important, socializing. Not just online, in real life. Girls, social media is amazing. It helps us stay connected, but it can never completely replace face-to-face experiences. Your mind needs real conversations. Your body needs real environments. You need to laugh with people in the same room. Go for coffee. Spend afternoons together. Go to the beach. Have picnics. Explore new places. Create memories. Because that's what fills the space that studying used to occupy. And speaking of memories, I'm about to share what I think is the greatest secret for making the most of summer. The biggest battery charger of them all. Ready? Organize a trip. Seriously, organize a trip. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be luxurious. It doesn't have to be on the other side of the world. A trip with friends. A weekend away. A road trip. A city you've never visited before. Anything. Because travel gives you something incredibly powerful. Experiences. And experiences become memories. During a trip, so many things happen. Some funny, some unexpected, some amazing. some frustrating, some completely random, but somehow when you look back on them later, they all become part of a positive story. That's the magic of traveling. The memories stay with you. Months later, when you're sitting in a lecture hall or preparing for another exam, your mind suddenly remembers that sunset, that conversation, that adventure, that ridiculous thing that happened on the train. And you smile. Those memories become emotional fuel. They become energy that follows you long after summer ends. That's why I truly believe that a well-lived summer can carry you through an entire year. So, girls, this summer, don't leave your life on pause. Move your body, create new routines, meet people, make memories. Take that trip you've been talking about. Fill your summer with experiences that make you feel alive. Because the goal isn't simply to survive until the next academic year. The goal is to recharge yourself so completely that when the next chapter begins, you walk into it feeling stronger, happier, and more excited about life. I love you all, girls. Have an amazing summer. And don't forget, the best summers are never the empty ones. See you in the next one. Kisses, girls.